Yeah?
Yeah, the strongest I've ever, and I know you since you're 13. I think this impressed the shit out of me. Nothing impresses me. You know, I'm gonna tell you the truth, I don't lie.
Mike Tyson's latest transformation has set the internet ablaze. At 58, he's in a shape so formidable that even seasoned boxing fans are left in awe, some saying his physique could make the Grim Reaper second-guess his job. Meanwhile, Jake Paul, lounging between bites of junk food, insists he's not fat, a claim met with raised eyebrows.
A power puncher. He used to speak to my mum on the phone regular. Oh, Mrs. Egan, chatting away, and she'd say to him, "Oh, Mike, thank you so much for looking after my son." But he was minding me as well.
Eyebrows across the boxing world. While Paul appears to brush off the gravity of the fight, Tyson has embraced it, working himself into a condition that seems to erase any lingering doubts about the November 15th Showdown's outcome. The fight feels more like a spectacle than a true contest, with every boxing legend and fan eagerly awaiting.
Yeah, the strongest I've ever, and I know you since you're 13. I think this impressed the shit out of me. Nothing impresses me. You know, I'm gonna tell you the truth, I don't lie.
What they predict will be a one-sided display. Experts are calling it 100% predictable. And with Tyson looking stronger than ever, Paul's boyish bravado might finally be met with a dose of reality. Mike Tyson's latest training videos are jaw-dropping. He's in such terrifying shape that calling for backup doesn't seem out of line. This is a man who was crushing legends before Jake Paul even knew what boxing was. And now Tyson's back, looking like a nightmare incarnate. Meanwhile, Jake Paul, our YouTuber turned hopeful boxer, must be nervously rehearsing his pre-fight excuses. Paul parades around with a swagger as if he's the next Muhammad Ali, but let's remember he's barely held his own against opponents better suited to reality TV than real combat. Sure, he has a 30-year age advantage, but that means nothing here. He's not stepping into a content collab. He's about to face a man who's practically an expert in rendering opponents unconscious. Tyson's monstrous conditioning has everyone wondering if Paul even understands what he's signed up for. Gene Kilroy, yes. The same man who worked with boxing legends like Muhammad Ali has said he's never seen Tyson this fierce, not even in his bone-crushing prime. Back then, Kilroy didn't lose sleep now. He watches a
sparring footage ahead of his fight against Jake Paul, and honestly, I'm getting pretty worried for Jake. Here's the full clip.
Was good for today. Yeah. I took it. Sure. Yeah, me.
58-year-old Tyson with the punching power of a wrecking ball and can't help but worry. And Jake Paul, bless his attention-seeking, seems to genuinely believe he has a chance. This is a man whose fans cheer if he makes it to round 3 against retired athletes, yet he's now facing Mike Tyson, a boxer who, even at 20, made grown men question their life choices. Tyson's current form is astounding. His fists still strike like cannonballs, his footwork is smoother than a TikTok trend, and his intensity feels almost mythic. Even Joe Rogan, known for hyping up fighters, had to pause and reflect. Tyson, oh...
I think he believes he's the young guy. I'm the quasi-retirement child or whatever they may think I am, and he thinks this is going to be an easy touch.
Older and wiser, but somehow even more dangerous, is a force that shouldn't be underestimated. Mike Tyson could vaporize most boxers today. He hasn't lost the raw power and primal aggression that once made his opponents feel like their lives were flashing before their eyes. Meanwhile, Jake Paul can't decide if he's a fighter or a social media influencer. Tyson has been calling out Paul's overconfidence, and it feels like watching a lion toying with a delusional gazelle. Paul, at 6'A", might think his height matters, but Tyson's fists have turned taller, tougher men into shivering puddles. Against that force, Paul's...
Tyson that beat Marvis Frazier. You ever watch that fight?
Yeah.
That's my favorite Mike Tyson fight, because that was Mike Tyson before he won the title. It was ABC Wide World of Sports, and Joe Frazier had been talking about Tyson, that if he was in his prime, he'd beat Tyson, and so he had his son fight Tyson, and it was...
His height is about as menacing as a wet paper towel. Even Roy Jones Jr., who recently faced Tyson, still flinches at the mention of those punches. Tyson today can still make you feel like you've been rammed by a truck. He lives for crushing egos and jawbones alike, and he's clearly not buying into Paul's hype. This showdown seems primed to reveal the harsh reality.
Hey, let's watch it, because it's one of my favorite fights to watch Tyson, because it's Tyson in his prime, where he was terrifying. He was so fast, and he would do angles, and he was bobbing and weaving. You couldn't hit him, and he was just...
Let's be real, Jake Paul walking into this fight thinking he's invincible is almost tragically laughable. Sure, he's got a solid 230-pound frame and a few wins under his belt, but none of that matters when Mike Tyson is locked onto you.
You're the strongest puncher that I've ever been in the ring with, ever. At 55 at the time, now I think I'm 57, I'm about to be 58. You're still the strongest puncher I've ever been.
Like a heat-seeking missile. Power is the last thing a boxer loses, and Tyson has it in abundance. Roy Jones Jr. learned this the hard way in 2020, admitting Tyson's punches still feel like mule kicks, even decades past his prime.
May look a little bit stiff, but his technique is still there. He has power as well. You know, the power is the last thing to go.
Then there's Tyson's legacy, something Paul will never understand, no matter how many bouts he wins against semi-retired athletes and fellow YouTubers. Tyson is a legend, a force of nature in the ring. Some fans are
Paul, I don't think he's going to be able to take that. It might hit him on the chin like that. We'll see, but it's going to be
genuinely concerned about Tyson's health, worried he might struggle against a 27-year-old in his prime. But they haven't been paying attention. Tyson is built differently. He's not stepping back into the ring to get embarrassed.
That's not the same 17-year-old boy I met yesterday. That's not the same 17-year-old boy I ran with this morning. That's not the same 17-year-old boy I sat next to on the minibus getting here.
Yeah.
Then Cuss pointed to one of the big...
Even Ryan Garcia, an active boxer, has expressed his concerns about Tyson's return, but he admits Tyson's power is still bone-crushing. Garcia knows that boxing is unforgiving. There's no nostalgia to protect you once you step in.
The quasi-retirement child or whatever they may think I am, and he thinks this is going to be an easy touch.
To that ring with someone like Tyson. Even Logan Paul, Jake's ever-supportive brother, has voiced some real concerns on his podcast. You know it's serious when Logan sounds worried. He's openly stressed that Jake isn't taking...
Not really fighting left-handed. He going both ways. You know what I'm saying? He was squaring up. He was doing things that you really it's hard to train for. So he was...
Tyson seriously. And if the Paul brothers are nervous, maybe we all should be. Jake, you'd better have a plan B. Those 230 pounds might look impressive in Instagram videos. But this isn't about who has the best workout montage.
Try to fight Tyson. If he knocks you out, but at least you fought Tyson. That's cool.
At this point, I think Tyson's 58, right?
Well, that's not okay. You know, he's like 60 years old. But
how much of his power you think he lost? You think it's still Mike Tyson?
I think like that's the last thing.
Being tall, young, and arrogant won't matter when Tyson throws a punch. It's not about age, it's about decades of mastering the craft of pure
power puncher. He used to speak to my mum on the phone regular, Mrs. Egan chatting away, and she'd say to him, "Oh Mike, thank you so much for looking after my son." But he was minding me.
Unfiltered power. Even heavyweight champ Shannon Briggs was awestruck by Tyson's speed and aggression, still as brutal as ever. Meanwhile, Jake, our modern-day court jester, continues his antics, convinced he can meme his way through this fight. But what we're looking at here is an epic clash. Mike Tyson, a man who still strikes fear into seasoned fighters, facing off against Jake. Tyson's speed, power, and terrifying intensity remain intact, and they might be more than enough to send Jake Paul straight to dreamland, turning his confidence into a distant memory.